General Hospital spoilers tease that Sasha is falling deeper into a terrifying reality that no longer offers comfort, certainty, or safety. The illusion of peace she clung to after Daisy's birth has completely dissolved in the wake of inexplicable danger that now surrounds her every waking moment. What started as vague feelings of unease and hormonal distress has turned into something far more insidious, a living nightmare where fear seeps into every crevice of her mind and heart. The moment she discovered Daisy in the nursery, dressed differently and turned away in the crib, everything inside her shifted. It wasn't just maternal instinct that triggered her alarm, it was the undeniable certainty that something had been tampered with. That someone had entered her sanctuary and violated the sacred bond between a mother and her child. That one incident sparked a wildfire of paranoia that continues to rage uncontrollably inside her, consuming every moment of calm she once knew. Even as she tries to rationalize the chaos and tell herself that the nurses, the doctors, and even Michael still have control. A much darker truth whispers beneath it all: this isn't just coincidence or postpartum fear. This is war. Someone is playing with her mind. Someone is testing her sanity. And what makes it even more devastating is that Sasha cannot pinpoint who the enemy is. Every face becomes a question, every word becomes a threat. Every quiet moment becomes a setup for the next wave of horror. Her past trauma with Liam has never truly left her, and now, it resurfaces with brutal force, echoing through her soul like a warning bell she cannot silence. She begins to question her memories, her instincts, even her own judgment, because if she's wrong, she's losing her grip on reality. But if she's right, Daisy is in real, immediate danger. Michael's constant distractions and his deep emotional involvement with Willow have only widened the chasm between them. Sasha no longer feels like she can lean on him the way she once did. Every time she looks to him for strength, she sees the hesitation in his eyes, the subtle doubt, the quiet worry that she might be unraveling. But she isn't. Not this time. Because this time, something is truly wrong, and Sasha feels it in her bones. And it's this growing certainty that keeps her awake at night, pacing the floor of the nursery, checking Daisy's breathing over and over, unable to trust that the baby monitor is transmitting what's really happening. The world around her has become a maze of shadows and whispers. And Sasha feels hunted by something invisible and relentless. And yet, even as fear wraps tighter around her throat, she refuses to give in completely. That maternal fire that once gave her the strength to survive addiction, grief, and loss has returned, burning hotter than ever. She will not lose Daisy. She will not let history repeat itself. But the emotional price she's paying is steep. Every decision, every breath, is laced with anxiety. She questions everyone, Nina, Felicia, even Brooklyn. Because who else had access to the nursery? Who else knows where Daisy sleeps? And most disturbingly, who benefits from pushing her to the brink of collapse? The answer may be hidden behind a smile, a soft voice, or a sympathetic gesture. But Sasha knows better than to trust appearances. The manipulation is surgical, precise, and devastating, and she's caught in the center of it. Sidwell's shadow looms large over Port Charles. And if his reach extends into the hospital, if he's truly capable of using a newborn to get at Michael, then this conspiracy is far worse than anyone imagined. And if Drew is involved, driven by bitterness and revenge, then the line between ally and enemy becomes terrifyingly thin. Sasha begins to see patterns she hadn't noticed before: nurses disappearing from rotation, strange phone calls, Daisy's clothes going missing. Are these the symptoms of a mental breakdown? Or are they proof that someone is orchestrating her downfall with chilling precision? The more Sasha tries to fight for clarity, the more the world resists her. Everyone around her urges calm, downplays her fears, suggests rest, medication, time. But Sasha knows that if she lets her guard down, even for a moment, it could be the last time she holds Daisy in her arms. Her paranoia, once a byproduct of trauma, has become a necessary survival tool. She is watching everything. She is listening. And deep inside, she is preparing for war. Not against herself, but against whoever has dared to threaten her child. Because if she is right, if even a sliver of her suspicion is real, then someone is targeting her in a calculated effort to destroy her credibility, take her baby, and leave her powerless. And that is something she will never allow. The cracks in her psyche may be widening, but they are not breaking her. They are sharpening her. Sasha's resolve is turning steel hard. Her instincts honed like a weapon. Her mind may be under siege, but her heart is clear. Daisy must be protected at all costs. Whether it's Nellie hiding in plain sight, Sidwell pulling the strings, or Drew weaponizing her past, Sasha will not go down quietly. She will scream, fight, and claw her way through every layer of lies until she exposes the truth. And when she does, when the mask finally slips from whoever is tormenting her, there will be no mercy. Because Sasha is not just a grieving mother or a fragile victim. She is a survivor. And this time, she won't let fear destroy her. This time, fear will answer to her. The nightmare Sasha finds herself living is no longer confined to whispers in the dark or fleeting moments of confusion. It has evolved into a storm of psychological warfare that surrounds her every breath, every heartbeat, and every moment she dares to hope things might return to normal. Each passing day reveals a new layer of the sinister game being played around her. A game she neither consented to nor understands, but one that is slowly consuming her sanity. From the moment Daisy was born, Sasha's world shifted. What should have been the beginning of healing after the trauma of losing Liam has instead become a twisted descent into doubt, fear, and the suffocating pressure of invisible eyes watching her every move. This isn't simple postpartum anxiety, it's something far darker, something designed, calculated, and deliberate. The incident in the hospital nursery, where Daisy was found in different clothes and mysteriously turned over in her crib, is no longer an isolated incident. It was the spark that ignited a firestorm of paranoia and horror. Sasha has racked her mind for explanations. Could she have forgotten something? Did a nurse make a mistake? But no one at General Hospital has answers that make sense. No one seems to grasp the weight of what it means to Sasha, who has already experienced the soul-crushing loss of one child. Every small irregularity, every inexplicable change, feels like a ghost from her past reaching out to pull her into madness. The shadows of her old trauma have become living things, stalking her through the halls of the Quartermain mansion and haunting the nursery where her infant daughter should be safe. The manipulation is subtle, masterful even. Her belongings have been moved, sometimes just an inch, just enough to make her question her memory. Daisy's toys are missing and reappearing. Doors she closed are open when she turns her back. Lights flicker and phones disconnect. Sasha is beginning to question everything, her perception, her memory, her very ability to protect her child. That is what makes this so dangerous, not just that she fears something is happening, but that the very act of trying to explain it makes her seem unstable. The more she fights to convince others of what she knows in her gut, the more she is met with patronizing nods, concerned glances, and whispered suggestions that maybe she's not well. And that's exactly what someone wants. This is a campaign of erasure, meant to isolate Sasha, to drive her into the role of the unfit mother, the grieving woman who's lost touch with reality. The more she pushes back, the harder it becomes to appear rational. She finds herself crying at random moments, yelling when she means to whisper, holding Daisy so tightly at night that her arms cramp from fear. And Michael, distracted, burdened, overwhelmed, has become emotionally absent. His focus is divided, pulled toward Willow, toward legal battles, and toward the chaos Sidwell and Drew have stirred into the Corinthos family. He doesn't see Sasha unraveling. He sees a woman reacting emotionally and assumes it will pass. But it won't. Not unless someone stops what's happening. What makes this even more insidious is that Sasha doesn't know who to trust. The attacks have no face. The sabotage leaves no fingerprints. Could it be Sidwell, using psychological warfare to retaliate against Michael? Could Drew be manipulating events from a distance, punishing Sasha for her loyalty to Michael? Or is there someone else, someone entirely unexpected, who has infiltrated her life? Someone close, someone whose face she sees every day, whose voice she hears whispering reassurances. Whose hands may have touched Daisy's blanket the day it disappeared from her crib. The horror of it is unbearable. That the person endangering her daughter might be someone she has allowed into her home. The mounting terror has begun to seep into every part of her life. Sasha no longer sleeps. She barely eats. Her hands shake when she holds a bottle. She jumps when a door creaks or when Daisy cries too suddenly. The woman who once fought her way out of addiction, who rebuilt her life after Liam's death, who stood before the world as a beacon of resilience, is now trapped in a prison of paranoia. And the worst part is that she's beginning to believe the whispers, that maybe she is losing her mind. Maybe she is the danger, maybe she's the one who needs to be removed from Daisy's life. That's the real weapon being used against her, doubt. It cuts deeper than any knife. Felicia has offered help. So has Nina. But Sasha can't bring herself to trust anyone anymore. What if Felicia thinks she's losing it? What if Nina is part of it? What if every person offering comfort is really watching? Reporting, waiting to use her vulnerabilities against her? These are not rational thoughts, but they are the thoughts of a mother who has been pushed to the edge. She has started keeping a notebook. Documenting everything, every misplaced item, every strange noise, every change in Daisy's behavior. It's her only lifeline to the truth. If she can track it, she can prove it. If she can prove it, she can stop it. But the more she writes, the more absurd it begins to feel, as though even the act of trying to understand her reality is making her lose her grip on it. The stakes could not be higher. Sasha knows this. If she breaks down, they'll take Daisy from her. If she lashes out, they'll label her unfit. And if she fails to uncover the truth in time, she could lose her daughter, either to a system that doesn't believe her or to the very person who has been orchestrating this nightmare from the shadows. This is no longer a question of healing. It is a fight for survival. A fight against an enemy she cannot see, against a society that doubts women's sanity after trauma, and against the demons in her own mind whispering that maybe, just maybe, she deserves to lose. But Sasha is not done fighting. She may be weak, but she is not broken. She may be scared, but she is not defeated. Somewhere inside her still burns the strength that carried her through every past devastation, the fire that once made her rise from the ashes. And if she can focus that fire, if she can hold on to the truth, even when the world tries to snatch it from her, then she might just win. For herself. For Daisy. And for every part of her that still remembers who she really is. After the terrifying incident at the church, a haunting realization began to solidify in Sasha's already fragile mind. Daisy was not just a baby caught in the crossfire of Port Charles's chaos, she was the target. That single catastrophic moment when a stranger nearly took her daughter from the sanctuary of what was supposed to be a holy place was not a fluke. It was deliberate. It was planned. And it was only the beginning. The darkness that Sasha thought she had escaped is now pouring back into her life, wrapping itself around her like a noose tightening with every breath she takes. The whispers she tried to dismiss, the strange coincidences she attempted to rationalize, all suddenly crystallized into one terrifying truth. Someone wants her daughter, and they are willing to strike in broad daylight, in public, in God's house. What had once been mere paranoia has now transformed into a battlefield of constant vigilance and creeping dread. Sasha can no longer trust anything or anyone around her. Every stranger's glance feels like a threat. Every knock at the door is met with trembling hands. She moves through her days in a haze of exhaustion and fear, her eyes always scanning for danger. Her arms always ready to clutch Daisy closer. This isn't just fear, it's war. And Sasha is a mother on the front lines, fighting a battle that no one else seems to see. The adjustments being made around her life, shifts in security protocols, changes in hospital staff. Even the sudden interest from certain community leaders and reporters, no longer feel coincidental. Sasha senses a deeper agenda at play. Something insidious working beneath the surface of Port Charles. These aren't simple mistakes or bureaucratic errors. These are calculated maneuvers, designed to wear her down, to isolate her. To make her second-guess her instincts as a mother until she's too paralyzed to act. It's not just that someone wants Daisy, it's that they want Sasha to be too broken to stop them. And so the pressure builds. The trauma from Liam's death claws at her spirit. The trauma from being declared mentally unfit in the past now returns as a constant specter looming over her shoulder. Sasha knows what the town thinks of her, what the courts think of her. She knows that if she raises her voice too loudly, or makes one wrong move, they'll use it as evidence. They'll say she's spiraling again. They'll say she's dangerous. And that's what terrifies her most, not just the enemy outside, but the system that might enable them by taking Daisy away in the name of protection. The tension eats at her every second. She barely sleeps. Her dreams are filled with screams and shattered glass. Her phone rings at odd hours with no one on the other end. And in the shadows of her own home, she feels a presence she can't explain, doors unlocked when they shouldn't be. Security footage that goes mysteriously missing, toys moved from where she last saw them. It all culminates in the crushing weight of maternal anxiety pushed to the brink of madness. But this isn't madness. This is a mother's instinct being sharpened by danger. This is survival. And as the town of Port Charles continues on with its masquerade of calm, Sasha knows that under its surface, the game has changed. Someone is playing with her. Someone is trying to push her toward collapse. But Sasha refuses to let them win. Even if she has to fight the world alone, even if no one believes her, even if she has to sacrifice her own stability to protect Daisy, she will. Because this time, she won't be blindsided. This time, she'll be ready. Of all the storms that had ever brewed in Port Charles, few had felt as unpredictable and as dangerously personal as the one now surrounding Sasha. 4 months. There had been subtle signs that things were slipping, frayed conversations, moments of silence stretched too long, shadows flickering behind her eyes. But now, it was undeniable. The woman once seen as the phoenix who rose from the ashes of loss and heartbreak was teetering on the edge again, and this time the descent threatened to take down more than just her. It threatened to engulf Michael, Jason, and everyone else who had dared believe that secrets could remain buried. It began with the birth of Daisy, a moment that should have been healing, restorative, even joyful. But for Sasha, it reawakened a trauma that had never been resolved, only suppressed. The death of Liam still haunted her every breath. A ghost that refused to be silenced by the cry of a newborn. And when strange things began happening, Daisy moved in her crib, clothing inexplicably changed. Whispers from nurses that didn't match the official record, Sasha's grip on reality began to fray. Michael had tried to brush it off, convinced it was stress or hormones. Jason had quietly placed guards in the shadows, thinking the threat was external. But no one could have anticipated the truth, that the most dangerous enemy might already be inside their home. Hidden behind smiles, and feeding on their need for control. And as Sasha's unraveling deepened, so too did the tension between Michael and Jason. For the first time in years, Jason was unsure whether his loyalty to Michael was helping or harming. His instincts screamed that something had gone very wrong. Sasha's paranoia wasn't delusional, it was rooted in real patterns. Small inconsistencies, whispers of betrayal that couldn't be ignored. Yet Michael refused to see it. He clung to the narrative that they had things under control. That Sasha was simply reacting to grief and pressure. But in doing so, Michael blinded himself to the possibility that someone, perhaps Drew, perhaps even Nellie, was deliberately trying to drive Sasha mad. The house at the Quartermain estate, once a haven of family legacy and privilege, had become a war zone of unspoken dread. Every hallway echoed with footsteps that came too suddenly. Every room felt like it held a secret. Willow, trying to be a calming force, grew more distant with each day. Nina lingered too long during visits, sensing that something was wrong but unable to say it aloud. And Sasha, no longer able to trust what she saw or felt, began to retreat inward. She no longer looked Michael in the eye. She avoided the nursery. She kept the door locked when she slept. Her world had shrunk to the size of her anxiety, and it was suffocating her. Outside those walls, the situation was just as volatile. Sunny had noticed Jason's increased silence and Michael's evasive behavior. Carly had demanded to know why she hadn't been allowed to visit Daisy more often. Reporters from local outlets were starting to whisper about the perfect storm of mental health and power plays brewing within the Corinthos and Quartermain families. The pressure was building from all sides. Michael's legal influence was no longer enough to keep everyone in line. Jason's presence was no longer a deterrent to danger, it had become a warning of how close to the edge things truly were. And then, the threats became physical. One night, Daisy's favorite blanket was discovered torn and stuffed behind a piece of furniture. A stuffed animal that Sasha swore she'd never seen before appeared in Daisy's crib. A nurse, recently hired at the hospital, was discovered to have previously worked at a private care facility tied to Sidwell's financial web. The evidence was thin but sinister, pointing toward a coordinated effort to manipulate Sasha's perception of reality, to make her question her own sanity, to isolate her from the people she trusted most. And whether it was Sidwell, Drew, or even the long-believed dead Nellie, one thing was clear: Sasha was being hunted in plain sight. Michael, faced with mounting proof and overwhelming guilt, began to spiral. He realized too late that his silence, his insistence on control, had given the enemy exactly what they needed: access. He had dismissed Sasha's cries, rationalized away her pain. And now she was barely hanging on. Daisy, too, had become a pawn in a psychological war neither of them fully understood. And Jason, once the master of order and silence, found himself at a crossroads. To continue supporting Michael meant enabling a cover-up. To break ranks meant facing the possibility that everything they'd built was built on lies. And amidst all this, Sasha began to change. No longer the trembling woman hiding behind curtains or pacing nervously in empty rooms, she grew quiet, eerily so. Her gaze sharpened. Her movements slowed. It was the calm before the collapse, or perhaps, the calm before retaliation. Somewhere deep within her, the part that had survived Cyrus, Liam, and the media storms of her past had begun to reawaken. This time, she would not break quietly. She would fight to protect Daisy, even if it meant burning down every lie that had been told to her. And as Michael watched her from the doorway one night, cradling Daisy with the kind of intensity that bordered on unsettling, he realized, the reckoning was coming. Because this wasn't just about Sasha anymore. It was about all of them, about the weight of secrets, the price of control, and the terrifying realization that no amount of power can stop the truth from surfacing. And once it does, the question will no longer be who hurt Sasha. It will be who survives her.